Okay, I didn't make an advance announcement that I was going to do a live today, but I got something going on in this curious mind of mine, and so I want to share it while it's fresh on my mind. So, welcome to She Shakespeare with your host, Selexi. I'm Selexi. How's everybody doing tonight? I hope everybody is safe and warm and feeling loved, supported, and honored, whole and fully woke, aware, conscious. So, anyway, I want to talk tonight about the curious mind. Now, if you know me or follow my channel or any of my other social media platforms, you know that I am also a writer. In addition to my traditional profession, I am also a writer. I have published 12 or 13 books thus far. And those books are available on Amazon.com in Kindle and soft cover. And what else? Barnes and Nobles, Target, and Goodreads, a bunch of other platforms. So again, that's Selexi Design. Selexi Design. If you pull that, look that up, Google Selexi Design or the Heaven's Mind book series and or the Your Life Reimagined book series, you can find me there. So anyway, it actually, I'm not really just plugging my books. However, that is a part of why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm sharing my life with you. And in doing that, I'm also sharing the gifts or the byproducts of this life with you from me. And so those books are available if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about me. Read those books and also discover a lot about yourself. I write to transform. So the books are made to or written to be both entertaining as well as insightful, but ultimately transformational because you will have a different mindset about some things. It may be very minute, but a different mindset about certain things in life after you've read something that written by me. Now, it's not to say that that won't happen reading something by somebody else either. However, my ultimate goal is to transform, not merely to entertain. Entertainment is the byproduct. So, anyway, the reason I became a writer because I have always kept a diary. And then, of course, as I grew older, we changed that name. There, I got a mosquito in here. Changed that name to a journal. As you get older, you no longer keep a diary; you keep a journal. But that's something that I've done all my life. A lot of it because I always have had this mind full of thoughts. I've always been curious. I grew up as the why girl. Like if you said Tina, go and do this. As a young girl, my nickname is Tina, and if you said Tina, go and do this, I'm probably going to say why. And it didn't mean that I didn't want to do it. I just wanted to know why. Maybe a couple of things. Why you wanted it to be done and why you wanted it to be done by me. What I now realize, I was labeled hard headed or stubborn because of my curiosity. Oh my God, I'm sharing this awakening with you. See, when I say stay woke, it's not something that you just are. It's something that you experience over and over again. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. I just said I write to transform. After you've read the thoughts that I have shared with you in written format, your mind could be forever transformed if your mind is fertile and ready to receive the good fruit. Oh, I'm in a great space right now. So many revelations today. So many revelations today. The curious mind, I have been that person by DNA, by birth. I came into this world curious. One of my favorite books growing up was Curious George. Curious George. One of my favorite books, series of books, Curious George. And I was attracted to the little monkey because I myself was curious. Little George was always looking for something. Who do I liken him to now? Today, Dora the Explorer. Is that not the same thing? Some of the words I think about when I hear or feel curious is explorer, pioneer. I think about the theme song to Star Trek, to boldly go where no one has gone before. That's me. That's me. Take me. Take me. And if there's nobody to take me, guess what? I'm jumping in all by myself. How many of you are like that? I mean, just curious, and if there's such thing as to a fault, I'm gonna use that phrase for right now, but I'm sure it's going to transcend as this conversation moves on. But it's like you could be curious to a fault. Now, I feel like I was born curious. It was in my nature to be curious. For that is how we learn, how we, of course we're I don't want to say forced, but we're strongly encouraged to attend structured educational systems and so forth, so that we kind of conform to a expected norm in society. And that's something that, as young people, as children, when we're still under the house or the roof of our parents, we have to go to school. And so there's not necessarily the learning that goes on in school is not necessarily out of curiosity, when it has already been predestined what classes you're going to take. And even if you get to pick some courses, you're still on a specific trajectory based on your aptitude scores and things like that. You know what I'm saying. I'm not going to go into all that. The point that I'm trying to make is that it's a pretty structured, non-algorithmic, a limited number of pathways in which you can take in order to achieve the ultimate goal within the perspective of the educational system, right? But after that, when you're set free, or when school is out, when you are no longer under the thumb of your parents, of the school system, of the church system, of the whatever other organizational system that you may have been a part of, when you were free to fully express who you were, you were curious. Even little babies. I remember seeing my 2-year-old son, my youngest son, when he was 2. He was missing. He wasn't in the bedroom, and he wasn't in my room, and he wasn't in his brother's room, and he wasn't in the bathroom. So we was like, "Where's Dion?" And his brother David found him. He was like, Mommy, Dion's in the living room and with the Christmas, messing with the Christmas tree. And when I when I went into the living room, there was my little beautiful, because he was two. So he was just the gorgeous little thing. All my children were. But this one, he was so curious. He was always someplace he shouldn't have been. And when you caught him, he always had that look on his face like, ooh, like, caught, but not really scared or afraid that he would have been caught. Like, okay, you got me. What? Okay. So when I think of when I think of being curious, that comes to my mind. And of course, like I said, the Curious George story and Dora the Explorer, and all those people who dare to venture out into the unknown. There's a lot of good that can come from that because we learn. And it is in those moments when we are outside of the boundaries of the four walls or the prism, when we're outside of the prism, when we're free to explore and free to be exactly who we are. Whew. Oh, I wish you knew what this feels like. This remembering, this reminder, this unveiling, this revelation, this story unfolding right before my very eyes. Because remember, I make these videos for me first. They're for my healing first. And the glory would come in that it healed any of you watching this timeless message I'm sharing with you. The curious mind. We've been living in an age of what we call duality. And for those who may be watching that's not, familiar with this concept, that means there's a yin and a yang, an up and a down, a right or wrong, a good and bad, a evil and godly. There's these opposites. And, remember Paula Abdul, opposites attract. There's these opposites, these opposing forces, an electro force and a magnetic force. There's these opposing forces. So they call that the duality, right? And I'm trying to simplify it as best I can based on my understanding of the information. But so you always have these opposing forces, two ends of the same line, alpha and the omega, beginning and the end. Two opposing dynamics appearing to be working against each other, but yet working together simultaneously. That's a frequency that we've been in and that we're about to emerge from. The frequency that I believe, from my perspective, based on my experiences and out of this curious mind, is that we're moving to a frequency of singularity, meaning that we must become one with ourselves. And in becoming one with ourselves, we become one with each other. What does that have to do with curiosity? It is my curiosity that finds me, that situates me at this point in time in my life. There's a old little saying that said, curiosity killed the cat. Sorry, I was thirsty. Curiosity killed the cat. And as I was sharing this with a friend of mine, we were like, yeah, curiosity killed the cat. But you know what they said? Satisfaction brought it back. And I changed it to curiosity killed the cat, but it was a conscious awakening. that brought it back. A conscious awakening that brought it back. Reawakening, if you may. Because it happens over and I'm having one right now. It's not a one-time thing as we progress along the journey of this thing we call life, this marathon, right? Gaining wisdom as we go along, alchemizing good and evil, and coming into a balance, a sense of balance, mayat, as they call it, harmony. The scales are equal. As we move along this journey, this stuff is happening over and over again in cycles. And because sometimes it's an ebb and flow to this thing, right? So sometimes the cycles are short and sharp, where you feel it, it hurts, like what I'm going through now. And sometimes it's a little more drawn out so that you don't even realize that you are being made over, that you are being transformed by the renewing of your mind. This process happens by default, but at some point in time, you recognize that it's happening. And once you are aware that it's happening, you now have some level of control over it. Ooh, control. What Janet said, oh, I'm in control. However that goes. In control. And we strive to be in control. I think part of the curious mind is a desire to want to be in control, in the know. We want to know what's going on. As Marvin Gaye said, what's going on? Tell me what's going on. For some of us, what's going on is so detrimental to the spirit that you can feel not only what you're feeling, but you can feel the burdens and the oppressions of those around you without them even realizing that you are carrying both your burdens and theirs too. Sometimes you don't even realize it. You don't even understand the depth of your ability to absorb the emotions of another. This is going somewhere I had no idea. I'm talking about the curious mind. It is the curious mind that led me to writing. See what the curious mind does. And I may be scooting around, but please, just open up your heart. Listen with your heart. Listen with an open mind. Listen with your gut. Listen with an intent to understand so that you may one day stand over this information and then begin to stand in the information after you have gained the experience. I'm just sharing my own with you. We all have our individual journeys to travel. We all have our individual journeys, and sometimes they overlap, and you get to meet dynamic people. And you get to meet people you wish you never had met. But if you had never met them, you wouldn't be where you are right now in the journey. Curious, George. Curious, Celeste, celebrate your curiosity. But now we haven't completely moved beyond the duality. So even with curiosity, there's some what we would consider good and some of what we would consider bad. Or in my case, good energy, high vibrating, or low energy, low vibrating. Which would you prefer? Of course, we would all prefer the high vibrating, the high energy over the low. I mean, who really wants to go low? How low? Unless you're doing the limbo, how low can you go? Or what's that else? Can you go down low? Unless you're doing a dance, how many of you really want to go down low? I mean, really, you just choose to go down low. No, we want to move on up a little higher. You know what I'm saying? So, so when you consider this thing curiosity, the curious mind, there's that same dynamic. Being curious has its benefits. Yes, it does. It aids in your growth. It helps you to step out on faith. It helps you to discover your own power within, at least on a surface level. It helps you develop courage and strength, and it continues to build those muscles the longer you exercise your curiosity. Understand? However, there's also an alternative side to that. There's a equal and opposite reaction to that action, right? So on the flip side of that, your curious mind, and in my case, curiosity has also been the nature of my role, and I think it is for many of us. I operate in a problem-solving capacity. Born into that. We're all pretty much born into that. We're inducted into that. Math, mayat. Solve for the missing number. Oh, I didn't know. I received this message. I received this message from the divine invisible, you guys. Oh my God. I was telling someone just the other day how much I love math, so much so that my initial plan was to become an engineer, to go into engineering, the sciences, you know. And instead I went into the biological sciences, into the nursing path due to, circumstances that I felt were beyond my control, but they were very much in my control. We have control sometimes even when we don't even realize it, yet we're still seeking more control. It's enough just to control this vessel that we operate on a daily basis. And here we are out here seeking for other opportunities to be in control, to be the boss. Curiosity killed the cat, but a conscious awakening brought it back. This is the realization that there is still existing a duality, and it will remain and sustain itself within you until you learn how to balance it. Ma'at. 1 + 1 = 2 until 1 + 1 = 3. As in, very simplistic example. Very simplistic example. A mother and a father come together. Okay? A mother and a father come together and procreate. What is produced is a third human. 2 humans come together, one negative, one positive, one male, one female, one whole, one pole. Come on and go with me. I'm teaching to somebody. And it's not even teaching. It's more like reminding. I'm stimulating you. I'm stimulating your memories. I'm helping you to open up those vaults, those Akashic records. I'm helping you to move down the halls of Amenti and open doors that have no need for a key. For the power is within thee. Oh, take me there. We're talking about curiosity, the curious mind. Curiosity killed the cat. A conscious awakening brought it back by recognizing that the ability to balance curiosity lies within you. And so here's the flip side of that curiosity, because I told you about the benefits, the growth and expansion and dynamic transformations. But once you reach those dynamic transformations, trust and believe you're going to get into a situation where you feel like you crashing and burning. That's where I'm at. I said my adrenals is burnt out. That was my analogy. I'm crashing and burning. I was crashing and burning. I'm on my way up, though. I'm on my way up. Don't get it twisted. This last time I started from the bottom, but now I'm here because I'm on my way up, right? I'm on my way up. I'm next level. I'm about that next level stuff. So when I'm like, I'm crashing and burning. My curiosity. Once I became a writer, and once I realized I wanted to write and began writing, curiosity enabled me to fill in the missing information. Perhaps I start out with an example from my life as a storyline. Well, there's a lot of information missing because I don't remember everything from my entire lifetime. I don't remember. And so it is because of curiosity and developing the ability to problem solve that I believe I went into the professions that I went into. Even in going into the ministry when I was in the traditional church, it was about discovering what someone's spiritual wounds were, someone's spiritual issues, or, because now I know on a whole other level that whatever's going up in here mentally, spiritually, and emotionally dictates what happens with these, what you do, what you become, because we become what we do. And we think who we are, or we think what we do is who we are. We're defined by what we do in this society of labels. And where am I going with the curiosity, girl? I'm trying to pull myself back on track. I got this multi-dimensional, or what you might call a multi-track mind on freak, because I'm feeling so great, so geeked for this download. So the curiosity, in the ministry, it was a benefit to me to go with a parishioner, to go with a congregational member, a member of the church, a servant of the body, to explore with them their issues, their dilemmas on every level, not just spiritual, but really on every level. Whatever the dilemma was, I was in the role of helping to explore that, and then helping them to come to a viable solution, and maybe several alternatives if necessary, to move them beyond this acute crisis in their life, in their well-being. So curiosity is what forms the questions that you ask, you see. You have to have an inquisitive mind. The curious mind it is. The curious mind seeks options, multiple pathways to get to a specific outcome. And then I chose the role of nursing. And one of the roles I functioned in for a great deal of my nursing career was that of a case manager. And so I did a ton of initial assessments. I'm probing for information. It is a trained, programmed mind, but you see, the training comes so easily because the foundation had already been laid when I learned that 1 + 1 = 2, until it doesn't. I have to keep qualifying that. You're gonna follow me on this again. when 1 + 1 = 2 until it doesn't. Curiosity, having that inbred and imputed into us, I think, at birth, to be curious. Even as babes, we're smelling stuff, we're tasting stuff, we're using our senses. We see stuff and we're excited because we've never seen it before. We see stuff and we're excited because we have seen it multiple times. It's become familiar. Come on. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is so true on so many levels. It is my true perspective, but I know you will find value in what I am sharing with you. And so it is curiosity that allows us to expand and grow exponentially, become that inquisitive mind to be able to assess another's issues. So in the nursing profession, I'm assessing and I'm reassessing. I'm helping to implement what we call interventions, alternatives, some modified behaviors to achieve an outcome or a goal. And we set ourselves a time frame in which to do that, right? I assisted with that. So in my spiritual walk, I have to be curious. In my professional career, I had to be curious. And even in my passions, the things that I do for free, the things that I would do for free, writing, singing, designing, they all require me to have an inquisitive mind, a curious mind. And I'm not going to break down how all that's pertinent, but they require me to have an inquisitive mind. I think it very well may be common sense for many of you on some level. So that curious mind, again, I'm saying about those benefits, but the drawbacks. Let me tell you about the drawbacks. Let me tell you about that opposing. Let me tell you about that yang energy of curiosity. Let me tell you about it. In the absence of information, the curious mind becomes so well trained at filling in the blanks. Remember those types of questions on tests? Fill in the blank with A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, or all of the above, or none of the above, or A and D, or C and B, or F and G. Remember that? Deductive reasoning is what they call it. Critical thinking. It's thinking outside of the box when variables are missing, when some of the information is not there. Are you able to utilize what you already know, what you've already experienced, what you've already seen, heard, felt, thought? Are you able to draw inferences from those senses within you to draw a conclusion? Are you able to do that? And when you become so good at doing that, you'll start figuring out other people's problems without their permission. And you'll start to create a life of havoc for yourself. Because, see, I'm going to speak to you from a relationship perspective. I'm a heterosexual female, married and divorced twice. And I've dated, if you want to call it that. I've had multiple relationships since being divorced, exploring, pioneering, being curious. My previous marriage In my previous life, that was the time that I was in the church, in the traditional church, and I was very dedicated to the ministry and to God in that way. And I went on this journey, and so curiosity, because of the hurt and pain the hurt, pain, and the betrayal, the deception, the things that I endured had left such a stain on my heart. They had pierced my heart, and I had not yet healed them. And so what happens is, when you embark upon a new relationship, thank you, my dear brother. Thank you, my dear brother. When you embark upon a new relationship and you have not healed fully from the hurts and pains and experiences of previous lifetimes, you see, previous experiences, previous relationships, I know you follow me. When you have not fully healed from that, the curious mind, you see, will fill in the blank. So if in this new relationship, if there is information that is missing, trust and believe this curious mind has a database of possible information, possible bits, phrases, paragraphs of information that I can plug that in based on the hurt and pain and trauma of my past. They call it post-traumatic stress syndrome, post-traumatic stress disease, dis-ease, post-traumatic stress dis-ease. So the curious mind, you see, the curious mind combined with post-traumatic stress dis-ease is going to seek to fix the dis-ease, to remove the dysfunction, to remove the cause of the dis-ease, the root of the dis-ease. In the absence of information, then, and to remove the stain and the pain, the pain related to the stain, right? The stain on the heart. In order to remove the pain of that, it's almost as if somebody's pressing on the sore spot in your heart. In order to remove that, when you're the curious mind dealing with PTSD, you fill in the blank. And what you fill it in is a what if statement. And this just really fucks me all the way up. Because I'm going to say at least the last 3 years, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I have entertained myself and others when we say what if. When we say what if, rather than choose the lower vibration of outcomes, possible outcomes, rather choose the higher vibrating outcome. Rather choose. So I think I was only in the vein of outcomes, circumstances, and situations or something. And maybe that's okay. That I was in the realm of where I needed to be in. But I'm saying, if you're going to entertain a what if statement in the absence of information, use the highest and best possible outcome for your good. For your good. So I've been teaching this, been reminding myself, been practicing this even in my own life, or so I thought. But I was only doing it to a degree. So I came to realize today, you see, in a new relationship, when you're getting to know someone, and they have not shared information with you, certain types of information, or you haven't done certain types of activities, or they haven't said certain things, or you know how we have our own timeline of when certain things should happen in a relationship and when, you know, and how it should go. We have our own agenda, we have our own blueprint and how this relationship should flow, if you even want to call it flow, because if it's pre-planned, then it is not a flow. If you got a preset a list of expectations, it is not flow. It is not, it is too, you've put bounds on it. You've binded it up so that it cannot flow freely and freely. And there, with flow, there is an ebb. You can't have flow without the ebb. It's like the beginning and the end. You can't have one without the other, right? Excuse me. And so the curious mind, PTSD, and a new relationship, that curious mind is going to fill in that missing information with the negative, most, the lowest, the negative and the lowest, the most negative and lowest vibrational possibilities that they can think of for multiple reasons. For multiple reasons that I won't even go into right now. So I'm approaching 40 minutes. But for multiple reasons, choose the lowest vibrating possible outcome based on that post-traumatic stress dis-ease. And then the outcome, the subconscious outcome is that the relationship ends. And in that way, you don't have to actually suffer the full trauma all over again. Starting all over again. Who wants to do that again for some bullshit? You know, I've been saying I have zero tolerance for bullshit, and what I've come to understand today is shit, I got zero tolerance for my own bullshit. Stop it, Select. Zero tolerance for bullshit, period, from within or from without. Not internally or externally. There will be no bullshit tolerated. What that means then is I must learn how to maintain my center, my groundedness, my balance. That doesn't mean that I might not sway from side to side or from, back and forth. But I will never move from the place in which my feet have been planted. Curiosity has the propensity to prevent you from ever having a successful relationship. So yes, on the one hand, it has its benefits. Yes, it does. On the other hand, when combined with wounds that have not yet been healed, bullets that have not yet been removed, knives that have not yet been pulled out, sticks that have not been pulled from your heart, stones that have not been pulled from your eyes. You are going to choose the most negative what if statement to fill in the blank that will ensure you remain protected. That you don't have to relive that trauma. Oh, baby. I'm breaking bonds today. Taking these shackles off my feet so I can dance. Yes. I feel like you know what? No, I ain't gonna do it. You know what? No, I ain't gonna. Okay, no, that's just way too much in the. I'm just going and sit my butt right back down. But you know what I'm talking about. This is such a revelation to me. I've had, at some point you got to recognize that you're the one walking around with the stinky cheese under your nose. Every time you walk into a situation, it's everybody else that's fucking up and it ain't never you. And then you move and go to another place and it's everybody else that's fucking up and it ain't never you. At no point in time did you take a look at yourself in the mirror. I'm talking to myself, you see. I'm talking to me. I'm talking to myself. Now I do. In other situations, I do look at myself. I'm doing that self-reflection and self-assessment. But see, what I said to you is this. Every new experience is an opportunity to transform. You don't just want to learn from it and grow from it. You want to embody the lesson. You seek to embody the lesson. It's not enough to just have it up here. You must go through the fire in order to understand and explain to someone else or understand when they're sharing it with you, to be able to connect with them on that level, to be able to feel what it is that they've been through. You must too have been through the fire. How can you then relate to me if you have not gone where I've been? You have not yet walked a mile in my shoes. And so therefore, the next best thing you can offer is compassion. And so my friend said to me that he is a man of compassion and forgiveness. And it is at such a time as this that you arrive in my life. A man filled with compassion and forgiveness, building and establishing a friendship with me at a time when I am clearly been given the opportunity to alchemize this curiosity thing, to balance it out. To always, when considering what if and filling in the blank with information, to always consider the higher vibrating things. The brother said to me that he always aims to say those things which are most uplifting. He said it to me, I heard it, but it did not penetrate me until I had the experience. And it's happening so quickly. I know I said this in another video. My lessons are coming together. My memories are coming together. I'm given this opportunity. I'm so grateful. I'm so fulfilled right now. I'm so grateful because I'm having the opportunity. I heard it. I received the guidance. But the manifestation had to occur through experience. The manifestation of my inner standing. You see, you get to a point in your life on this journey. Oh, I'm loving the lessons I'm learning. You get to a point on this journey where you realize, first you read the information or you hear the information or you see the information. You may even take a test on the information and pass some level of understanding. That means that you can stand under the information. You are not the authority or nor the expert of the information. So the best that you can do is be governed by it. Stand under it. Oh, I didn't know I was going here. Come on, Pearl of Wisdom. Bow! Right there in the kisser. Stand under. Governed by. Okay? Stand under. That's where understanding comes from. Now, this is my perspective, okay, based on where I'm at along my path, my journey, okay? But you can use this. You can break it down, and like I said, break it down, cut it up, slice it up, dice it, whatever you got to do. Rebuild that mother and make it work for you. That's what I'm talking about tonight, okay? So if you still with me, if you follow me, let me flow with this thing, y'all, because I'm just starting to open up and breathe. You see what I'm saying? Understand where I'm coming from. This is for us. Me first, me first. Me first, me first. Had to start with me, or I wouldn't even be able to share it with you. Me first, me first. Yes, yes, yes. That's a slogan, right? Me first. But anyway, so when you get the information and you test out of the information, or you show that you have mastered the information in terms of being able to stand under it. You've demonstrated through some example on paper in a virtual environment that you have understanding of that concept, at least on a 1D level. Okay. And then you may have a situation where now you have to teach that same information. Oh, this is so good. Thank you. Ooh, thank you. Thank you for being open at the top. I'm receiving this down. Pow, pow, pow. Pearls of wisdom coming at you loud and clear. So now you're at a point where you're about to, I know y'all like, she is straight tripping at 12 past midnight. I'm gonna wrap this thing up. The curious mind, that's what we're talking about, right? And really the pitfalls of it. But now I'm bringing it all together. I'm bringing it all together because I had the revelation on July 10th, 2021. I had the revelation. It is now July 11th, 2021. So this is old news. Contradictory. This is old information that I'm sharing with you. What I'm sharing with you is something that has already happened, something that has already transpired in this in this temple right here, something that has already transpired in me, a realization of my need to balance my curiosity, keep it on the higher vibrating things. And so when you get to the point where you're teaching what you have learned, that's standing over the information, because now you have some level, you've been given some level of authority in that you've practiced it so well in the virtual reality, you see, that you can now teach it to someone else to utilize in the virtual reality. And so that is standing over the information. But baby, I come to tell you, when you go through it, it is not until you go through the valley of the shadow of death. It is not until you go through the neck of the hourglass. It is not until you go through the middle passage. It is not until you cross over the Jordan River. It is not until you walk through the parted Red Sea. It is not until you go through the wilderness experience. It is not until you go through a period of fasting. It is on the other side of through that you can now stand in the truth of that information. That is how you hide the word in your heart. That is how you, and this is my perspective. Let me keep qualifying that. This is my truth. I speak only my truth because it is only my truth of which I can speak of. You see, so when someone offers you gentle, loving guidance, it's okay if you don't hear it right away. It's okay. When it's meant for you to hear it, it will make the way, it will make the journey to your heart, and you will know it. You will know that you have received wisdom. I call it processing. I'm processing the information. Because see, for me, once I get it, that's all it is information. Something that has come within me and formed itself on me. Information formatted itself within me. It is not until I allow that which has been imputed in me and formatted within me to go through a processing phase before I can then manifest the outcome. I think I may have gotten off track right there. But I hope you follow me. I'm gonna have to look at this again and make sure I didn't get off track. But yeah, there's a processing phase before the end product. So you really do go through, as you live this life and you get information, you get formatted, your disc gets formatted. Okay, but until that disc is inserted into the central processing unit and data begins to transfer onto it through experience, through being utilized, through being exposed to the elements, it's just a formatted disc. Understanding, overstanding, understanding. You can't stand in the information until you've been processed, until you've gone through the fire, the refinement. And that's something that happens over and over again. We are always being transformed by the renewing of our mind, whether we realize it consciously or not. We're always being transformed by the renewing of our mind, because every day is a new day. You have a new set of experiences, even if it's very similar to the experience you had the day before. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the curious mind and how I realized that much of what has happened, not only in my relationships, but even in my profession and even within my passions, but in many relationships, both with men and with women, my friendships with women, my relationships with men and friendships with men have all been tainted by this curiosity, which suffers from post-traumatic stress, dis-ease, unhealed issues, unhealed wounds. When the information is not there, the curious mind will automatically put in the lowest vibrating what if possibility and believe it to be truth. I tell you, I can make up a story, and this is why I'm such a great writer. This is why I'm such a great writer, because I can take a story. I can take a little bit of information. I did this with my book, The Sinister's Wife. The Sinister's Wife was based on a true story. I got about 30% of content of that book. What you read in that book represent about 30% of the sum total of her actual contribution to the book, meaning sharing information, of which I had to use this curious, inquisitive brain of mine to extract information from her in which to create a framework for me to build an interesting, thought-provoking, heart-wrenching story, you see, because this curiosity has its benefits. But that was one of the darkest stories I've ever written. More to come on that. More to come on that. But one of the darkest stories I've ever written. So it is no wonder that the outcome that I had imagined for this book actually mirrored the negative energy that I had infused in the book. Because you see, my ghostwriting segment of my book series is called Your Life Reimagined. So it is a reimagining of your story through my lens, through my eye. And because of what she shared with me, because the information she shared with me was so negative, then what it evoked in me with my curiosity and my creativity was more negativity. It was low. It took me, I said that's a story for another day, but it took me so low that I literally had to take a break and I physically got ill. So curiosity coupled with that creativity has its benefits with writing. But even in that situation, you have to be careful. Because, see, I was talking about things that I had no knowledge of. And because I had no knowledge of, and my desire to make the story as realistic as possible, curiosity led me on the research, to research. Why is it called research? Because we've already searched it before from a different perspective. Ooh, excuse me, I'm getting sleepy. Okay, it's time to wrap this thing up. The curious mind has its benefits as well as its deficits. When you get to a point where you've recognized them both, when you recognize the benefits of being curious and contrast them with the deficits of being curious, and when I say, I mean negatives, if there's such a thing, when you are aware that both aspects exist and you can somehow merge them together to achieve a level of balance such that you are not entertaining negative, low vibrating what if statements, but you're also not on the other end so unrealistic in your human operation. You see, your human behavior. If that makes sense, I might have to rethink that statement a little bit, but I know it's because I'm starting to get sleepy. And I think I made my point though. When you get to the point where you recognize the two extremes of the same characteristics, you can then begin to bring it under your subjection. You can make it be a servant to you rather than become a master over you. It becomes one with you. Curiosity would never betray you. Therefore, it's not going to be filling in the missing information or filling in the blanks with things that are out of alignment with who you are. And so when you are in atonement, I like attunement and atonement. When you are in the frequency, I think of in tune as being in the frequency of a high vibrating energy, such that the tone that you're radiating out has a very high vibration. Tone and tune, attunement, atonement. And the brother, the new friend, I love to be more positive. I love to radiate in positivity. I couldn't hear him when he said it. But now I've gone through an experience where I realize, oh my goodness, here's the role I've played and perpetuated for decades. This is an epiphany for me. This is an epiphany, a welcome revelation, you see, to me. To me. Look at me. I have been set free. All my sins are washed away. I'm going to say the sins were all the times I missed the mark because I didn't know, because I was unaware. All the times I missed the mark, you can call them sins. All the times I missed the mark because I was unaware that it was me that was creating the negative, low vibrating story of every relationship I've ever had. It was me sabotaging my relationships. What I saw, the story that was playing out before me, was the outpicturing of a hurt filled mind. A hurt filled mind. A heart filled mind. A soul filled mind. And so the outpicturing, when you have those issues within you that have not been dealt with, when you haven't did that dealing and healing I was talking about the other day, when you haven't dealt with those things, then you outpicture them, you replay them, instant replay on you take that blueprint and overlay it on every successive relationship. You do it with your friendships as well as your intimate relationships. I have. I'm sorry, did I say you? I have. My bad. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking to anybody out there in YouTube land that's following She Shakespeare. Baby, when I tell you it takes courage to share with you what I'm sharing, trust and believe. The more honest you can be with yourself, the more honestly transparent and authentic you can be with yourself, the much, much better off you will be. I can attest to that. I can attest to that. And you'll be saying, look at me, I've been set free, or making up your own spoken word about freedom. Made me think of Beyonce's freedom, freedom, where are you? Freedom, I need you. Oh, freedom, freedom, where are you? Because I need freedom to see. I break chains all by myself. Don't let my freedom rot in hell. Oh, I like that song. I think it's Beyonce to sing that. That song is a mother. You hear me? If you have never heard it, listen to Freedom by Beyonce. Oh my God. Listen to the lyrics. The curious mind. I'm going to wrap this thing up again. I don't know. I done said this for the third or fourth time. The curious mind has its benefits as well as its deficits. It's positive as well as it's negative. Once you become aware that both exist, you can begin the work of pulling it all together, because the root cause is the story that you've been telling yourself over and over and over again. And you're causing it to prevent fruitful relationships. That's the message to me. I'm talking to me, Celeste, sweetheart. Continue your healing, and your future is made sure. And I'm sending that out to all of you. When someone shares something about you to you, when someone offers you gentle guidance, I pray that you find yourself in a condition to be able to receive it, such that your manifestation of understanding happens instantaneously. The closer we get to that, the closer to oneness we get to anything, the better. Go forth, be blessed, stay woke, stay whole, and vibrate higher. I love you. This has been your girl, Celeste. I'm sorry I got a little melodramatic at the end, but I love you. Have a wonderful Sunday morning and an even greater Sunday afternoon and evening.